This is Justin Scoop for Friday, November 7th, 2025, and we are looking at SPX. And look, hey, another bull candle. This one was phenomenal. This is an incredible hammer. This is like textbook hammer. We got a little upper wick on the daily here, little upper wick, lower wick about double. So if I hold the cursor kind of middle of the lower wick, the body is approximately half the size of the lower wick, or the lower wick is double the length of the body itself. That's textbook. This is how it should be. And what's really crazy is it's kind of similar but better than this bear candle. So we came down a little further than this one. We've got more strength than this candle, same range. Like, look at this. The high was a little higher today than this candle. The low was a little bit low, a little higher than this candle. So, like, we were a little bit staying a little bit higher than this candle, but this was, we chopped around in here for a number of days, sold through this area. We're back into that zone. So, obviously, we moved down yesterday through the midline of this channel. We got a really great bouncing candle at previous support or previous resistance, new support or previous resistance and new support, something like that. So here's a high that we had. We were traveling right through that zone. Now we gapped down today to open by quite a bit, and then we just flush lower. And you'd think, hey, that we're going to get some huge selling. We're going to have, the puts making lots of money. And so let's jump over to the puts real quick. This is the 6,600 put that expired today. We're nearly 100 points out of the money before we opened, and it was a little more than $2. You could spend that, and it only ran up to a little more than $5, or between 5 and 6. When it pulled back, it it didn't even pull down to like a dollar. Like, it was so far away. There was so much premium just baked into the options, and the options just didn't move as much because of the higher volatility, because of the gap that we had today. So that's how the puts move. The calls moved much better, but you had to wait. You had to be extremely patient. You had to look for some of the things we've been looking for. Before we do that, before we go through the calls, I just want to zoom way out on the 3 minute here and just kind of just look at where we've been. We've been obviously moving downward. Pretty much everything on this chart, we've been moving downward, in general downward, right? Like, we had a lot of bear candles. I don't know that I can draw all this straight, but that looks pretty straight. Actually, that's really good. Can I move that around? Oh, look at that. That goes right through some of the lows. That's actually really good. I like how well I drew that. I didn't know I could do that well. Okay, get rid of that. Um, so we're moving downward, and I was just looking for, like, okay, where, there's definitely some framework that we can talk through. We have, if you go back and watch some of the videos. It's a really nice kind of triangle pattern here. And, we break out S curve, kind of retesting the high of that. And then we push up past and get into kind of some more of this, closing the island sort of talk, back into those areas. And then we start to roll down. And so this was like a much bigger sort of framework like this. So a bigger triangle. And look, we had, a triangle here and another triangle here. And then this like big triangle here. And then another smaller triangle here. Like, all of these are descending triangles. The top is the one on an angle. The bottom is relatively flat. All these descending triangles. Okay. Look at this. This high right here. Okay. This high right here is a retest of the bottom of this bigger triangle. Okay. It helps to zoom out and see this stuff. So then what did we do yesterday? We rolled down, retested. Oh, where do we retest? Where is this S curve right here? Kind of looks like we're retesting to that low of the previous triangle a couple days before. This is the framework. Like, it just all of a sudden becomes really clear where we're going. And then today we gap down and we S curve. And where do we come up to? Oh, look, we're right into this previous curve. Maybe we'll come back up a little bit more. Maybe we'll come back up a little more. These are the resistance zones to look for. Okay. If we keep moving up and we kind of chop into this and then chop up into this, like those are some resistance zones to look for it to roll over further. Even where we're at right now, like this could be the left shoulder, this could be a head, and then maybe something over here. Well, that would be a neckline, but maybe we'll do something like this and chop around in there, and then that becomes the right shoulder, and then maybe we've got an inverted head and shoulder, and we're off to the races. All right. So it's kind of cool to see all this kind of just zoomed out, like, hey, where could we be at? What could we be doing? But today it had to get really low with the selling, and then it did really have an incredible bounce. This line doesn't mean anything. I can't even find where that's coming from. When I've tried different time frames, ignore that. We talked about this line. This one is off. This should be higher. It was around 67, 60, I think. So it should be cutting through up here. It's just different time frames. It's just not showing up right. So just look at that in the daily. Ignore these lines here. It looks like, oh yeah, hey, look, we traded right back into that line. What is that? It's like, no, that's ignore that. And then it's like, okay, we traded right down to the lower wicks here. We bounced on that. Okay, it's like, no, it's yes, we did, but they just happen to be here. So anyway, kind of ignore that. Um, I think I'll use this as a thumbnail. This is incredible, just to kind of zoom out and see the framework of how this traded. So I hope you're zooming out. I hope you're looking for this, and it helps to kind of trade the bigger time frame. So I was in bullish from a trade some time back, and that was rolling down. I had a target set, just get out today, because it's like, okay, how much lower are we really going to go? I'm going to miss some of the trade if we do keep going lower. I didn't get out at the low. Um, I got out somewhere. What time was it that I got out? Checking my my stuff on another screen. 11:30. 11:30. I was out of a trade. 11:30. That doesn't sound right. Oh no, that's not the right. Oh, 10:55. I was looking at the right thing. 10:55. So I actually get out really close to the low, which is really cool. But it kept moving lower um, by quite a bit for me getting out of the trade. And then I was getting into a trade. I had another one set up to go bullish. So I'm in 680 calls on, I'm sorry, 680 calls on SPY. So I'm looking for if we can rally like this and get up to like this area, that should make some money. Those are expiring later this month. So I've got a couple weeks on those. All right, so that's kind of the framework of how we're going down. Now we're looking for like if we made it back up to this and we just roll down, we're just continuing with the S curves. And so it's like if we can draw like a trend line on this to see what's going on, that's a great setup, just for it to continue lower. Seems like we're in an area that we had some buying before, see if we can retrace a little bit more, get another bull candle. And I may be exiting that trade early next week if we just keep on pushing up. The hammer we got today is really strong and it's at a great location. So anyway, all right, I'm going to take this all off of here. That's the framework. The one other thing I wanted to do is, again, just playing with these angles. All I did was say, okay, well, this kind of top angle here, like if I extend this to the right, does that line up with something? And it's not super clean, like where I just drew stuff with the annotate, it's a little bit different. This one, it's kind of right through here, but that's about, I don't really see some key levels, maybe kind of the open through here. So, okay, that one doesn't really line up. I can also duplicate this and then I can move it over. And I was doing that some of these days. It's like, okay, yeah, there's some resistance there that could fit. All right, a little bit more there, but it's like I'm looking for something like, okay, does this high run into, something else? No, it's kind of too high there. So it's like it didn't really line up too well. So then it's like, okay, well, let me just check the same thing here. Let me just turn this one on. I turn this one on to the right. I'm like, whoa, what just happened here? Because all of a sudden it's kind of holding as some of this support here. Like it broke up through it and it's holding a support and bouncing. And then that's pretty close to that pivot point. And then it runs right back into that. It's like, oh, look, we traded right back into that price today. So it's like all of a sudden that green line, for whatever reason, matches up with some other stuff, even kind of getting some resistance here. So we got like 1, 2, 3, for 5 touches on that, it's like, okay, that's significant. Some above, some below. Um, if we held this at resistance, and then if we hold it again here and roll back down, um, I'm going to keep looking for this line to do something or something to be decided on it. But if we're at the point now where we're going to break out and get back above, because it's like, okay, we were, we went from where I drew this, we were below, and then we were split, and then we were above, and then we were below, and then we were above, then we're below, and then we're below. So it's like, okay, one, then split, then above, uh, above, below, above, below, below. I don't see a pattern between that, but it's just kind of cool just to notice, like, hey, look, that line looks like it's doing something, but it could just be an arbitrary line. But when this happens and it's really close, it's like, okay, what's, are the, um, is anything that's, the market makers or computers and bots trading things, are they trading something along these levels? Very possible. So I don't want that to extend on forever. Because if I go over to the daily, it's like, yeah, what is that lining up with? It doesn't make any sense, right? But I can turn that back on if needed. I'm going to leave it on this chart. I usually like to take these things off um, after a couple days just to see, did something play out to an angle. I'm going to keep those there. I was doing the same thing with this angle. I was trying to see, does this one line up with something? Did something make sense? I guess from like the closing price here to the extent to the right. Nope, didn't really hold on to that level. I guess it kind of looks like sort of a wedge shape here, and then break out, retest. But when it retests and it kind of takes out the low, I don't like to count those, you know. Um, did anything go on here? Did anything? I don't see anything else that's really following this angle, so we'll get rid of that one. And then this one's more of a low. So I was looking for more resistance, but we can check this. Let me duplicate this one and see. Okay, let me extend that. Okay, that low lines up with that low at that angle. That's kind of cool. All right, so there's one that sort of works. Okay, so if I do the same thing again, is there another low? Okay, so this is the next kind of real low. Like these were lows, but like doesn't play into anything. So this is kind of the next one. It's like, all right, we kind of bounced there and there. That could work. That could be kind of a fit, but then we chopped right through here, got back above. We didn't come back into it very cleanly. So I'm not really wanting to trade off of that one. This one, I don't think you would have known because it's literally connecting these 2 points. This is still connecting. Well, this one's connecting like 3 points. So I'll give that one more credit, but I don't see anything else connecting, 3 points on the low side there. Um, Relative lows where it's kind of a flat bottom, I think are more significant because it's just bouncing off the same price. It's easier for everybody to see, you know. So what I had drawn in here and then extended to the right, you can see, hey, look, we got a little bit through that, but then we held again here, and then this stayed as resistance, and then we chopped through here, but we really didn't get a solid close and stay above it. We didn't in a bigger time frame. So that was a nice level. That was the dotted line I kind of drew. And then the next one is this. Like these lows worked really well. This open low, the lows here, we traded right around that price there. This got a little bit through yesterday, and then we have yet to see, like, are these some good levels to kind of watch for? So now if I go over to this looks cleaner. Now, for some reason, just the way Thinkorswim does this, these look like they're on an angle. Maybe it is because of how I drew it. So if I come back in here, okay, yeah, I do have the cents off by a little bit. So I can probably flatten that out if I just set the same value. So 39. Yeah, that just tipped it a little bit. Do this one, 31. I'll flatten these out too, just so I do actually have a horizontal line here. 27. Oops, okay. And then this one, that's a different dollar, so 7.6. Okay, well, we'll kind of use those. I didn't see much change on the 3 minute. It'll probably make a bigger difference here. That looks much more horizontal. Okay, so we're good. All right, now that we got those drawn in, those will be the levels that we're going to look for. And the next thing, you know what? The other thing I can do with this is I think I can put an alert on this, right? Create alert with drawing. I can put an alert on that. So if you want these prices, If you want to kind of look for us to trade into those prices based on these lows, and it would make sense if we retested into some lows, right? Into old support, broke down, is it going to be new resistance or are we going to trade through it? If it's new resistance, then look for a rollover. The other thing you do with these is look left to see, do these cross or get into some other price? So like if I extend this one to the left, do we trade through something? Like, okay, here's some resistances over here. We were running into that before. That was old resistance. Okay, old resistance. We gapped above it, became new support until yesterday we broke through it, retested, and rolled back down. Okay, so it works both ways. You can see that we had some other movement there. So actually, I'm going to leave this one on, extend to the left. There you go. That one's more significant. This one, there's nothing this high. This was the all-time high we were making during this range. Okay, now that we've done that, and I think I'll put an alert somewhere else, not in this program, but I guess I could. Okay, so here's where we're, again, ignore the red lines because they don't mean anything, even though they kind of give us some nice values today. So with the gap down, we've got, interestingly, and I'm going to go off of this line, but we've got kind of some relative lows through here. Actually, not even that much. It's really just some sideways consolidation, right? And then you want it to bounce there and it doesn't. And it breaks down, but then it retests from below and then rolls back down. You got a stair step here. You start to roll back down more. You held a low, so this is looking like it's basing. This is making some lower highs, and then it pushes lower. To me, this looks like a low, a hesitate, and a trap. And then we reverse and we go back up. And then where do we retest? Back to the same level of the low, right? And then we're off to the races. We get running, get through the 100. Okay, that was too far, too fast. Where do we retest here? Looks like that high. All right, now we're S curving. Now we're off to the races again. This was incredible. I missed this candle. That was really cool. This was really consolidating through here. It was just kind of going up slightly. Looked like we were into the resistance from earlier in the day at the open range. And if we had just rolled down, I think we would have sold off all day and really put in some big lows because we hadn't made a positive candle yet. We were still bearish on the day. All of the day we were bearish. We were below the open price. You know, we were below this open, and we got right back into that price with this candle. We pushed right into it. It's like, okay, all I want is a pullback. After this candle, all I want is a pullback. Give me some bearishness. Give me a little bit of a pullback. I'm going to get in bullish. And it just didn't do it. I even went down to a lower time frame. It's like, this is not giving any weakness. Like, okay, this is going up. And I'm like, okay, I'm really glad I was in some bullish setups, or getting out of bearish and getting into bullish down here because it was really close to the low. Now I look at it, it was 1055 and 1057 were the trades that I was getting out of a bear trade and getting into a bull trade. So I didn't call that. All I did was set it, and I was in a meeting, so I wasn't even paying attention to what was going on. So yeah, we didn't roll over. We broke out here and just continued to push higher. Again, ignore the dotted line. We were getting back into basically almost into uh, the low, the kind of the low price from yesterday, the S curving price. So we're chopping around here, trying to pull back a little bit. What are we going to do? Are we going to head and shoulders this thing? Okay, no, we're going to still get bought up into the end of the day. So definitely had some rallying there at the end of the day. Made a bullish candle. The main body of today's candle was basically after this candle. This is like that wasn't straight. This is like the body section. And then, so the candle looks like that for all of this to the right. And then everything to the left, everything is the lower wick that came way down here. And that's your daily candle. Looks like this, except it's very, very green, unlike what I just drew. So that's how things moved. Again, bearishness just didn't have as much of the movement because we had gap down, premiums baked in. Market makers are trapping people thinking it's going to just collapse all day, and it didn't do it. And then the bulls were slowly creeping back in. They were slowly getting back in. We ran into the 100, some resistance a little bit, broke out, came back down, and then got our footing here. And so even after this candle, like this is a Morningstar reversal off of a resistance. This is an S curve. And as it just chopped, if you already in the mindset, okay, this is a good place for it to bounce, you could have been in bullish. And so let's go look at one of the calls. This is the 6,600 call that expired today. You know what? Let me zoom back out for this a sec. So just so we can line up some values. So the lows that we put in over here, those were these prices over here. And so we were still above $1. This pulled in past $1. The low here is 0.8, zero point 0.8, and 0.95. So all through here, you could have been buying for $1. And even this candle over here, putting a low of $1. Now, I don't know if that would have filled, but there were a number of opportunities. So where was that? This area you could have bought for $1. And then on that candle, had you still had it set up. And this is what we just talked about, I think, yesterday. Where even if you're waiting, like it's not like that. I mean, it kind of was. It was a little bit flatter. The dollar price is right through here, you could have been buying at $1. And even though the stock is moving up or SPX is moving up, it gives you the same opportunity. You don't have to buy the low. You can wait for it to run up and get in or be ready on the bear pullback or on the S curve, you got some bear candles coming in. And so this would have been phenomenal to get filled at $1. I don't know if that happened. And then from there, we kind of did this, we chopped. This is great chop. It's just going really sideways. You could have been in, instead of the 67.00, you could have been the 67.25. That would have been another uh, great option to be in because we ran up pretty much at the money, near the money. We got through into the money here, but it would have been a little less expensive than around $3 to be buying right through here. I think the 67.25 was trading closer to $1 or maybe $2, something like that. Actually, no, it should have been even cheaper than that. 67.25. I don't remember which one I was looking at now. But yeah, this option recovered back into basically the open price was right around that candle, went sideways, pulled back some, and then ended up closing even the option closing with like a hammer candle of the day. Very slight, but you know what? Let's see what that looked like. Get out of this. If we look at this candle on the daily, yeah, look at that. That's a really nice hammer. That's a really strong. That's what's it called? Dragonfly doji, where it's such a really long like tail. I think this is dragonfly doji. Um, doji, is that right? There may be another name, but that's the one that comes to mind right now. It's a really long tail, smaller body. I think the idea of a dragonfly is like if that's the head and this is a longer body, and you just put some wings on here on the left and right, and it looks like a dragonfly with the longer tail. That's what I think they came up with it for. But anyway, what do I know? I'm just trying to trade the candles. So anyway, that's what today looked like um, on the option. But obviously, the option moved value wise moved significant because the low here was zero point 0.8 and then the high was like 28. So um, 20, 20 points higher, more than that. So please look at this. Please look at how these options are moving, kind of what's going on with the options, um, and get familiar with the stuff. We're setting up some great trades. Like we should know Monday if we're gonna push through this quickly or what we're gonna do. So let's keep an eye on it. And yeah, hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.